Hi, I'm Doug Reeves at Creative Leadership Solutions, where we believe in evidence, passion, and results. Today I'd like to talk about how teachers learn, the result of a really interesting new study that I think you'll find fascinating as well. When teachers were asked, how do you learn best? An astonishing 78% said through traditional professional development conferences. Now, I realize that you may think there's all this hype about you can just do professional development in your pajamas late at night, but the truth is there's something about the interactivity of adult learning that clearly has the vast majority, more than 3/4 of teachers saying, I learn best with my colleagues in active settings. Now from there, there's word of mouth and websites, but here's what's really interesting. The setting in which we learn together, more than twice as influential on teacher learning as all social media combined. Now, if I would have told you that without a brand new study, you would have said, well, Doug, you're just a Neanderthal, and obviously you don't get how people learn. But as appealing as social media may be, it is less than half as influential on teacher professional learning as the opportunity to learn together. So yes, I use Twitter, I use Instagram, I use social media, as I'm sure you do too. But when it comes to professional learning, what you do together really matters. Now, the second part of the equation is, how is it that teachers are most moved to apply professional learning? And I wish I could tell you it's by reading inspirational books by Doug Reeves, but that's actually not what the research literature says. Turns out that the opportunity to learn together, to try things together, dramatically more influential than research journals and a lot of other things that you might think influence the action. Why? Because the overwhelming majority of teachers say we want things that are evidence-based. And there's a lot of stuff in journals that have a sample size of 1, that are what I might call a personal journey story and are not really the basis of evidence. So when teachers ask for evidence, what I think we ought to look at is the preponderance of the evidence. Not a Doug said, not one analyst versus another, but the preponderance of the evidence. That includes quantitative evidence, the sort of things that I do, measuring literally millions of kids in thousands of schools. But don't underestimate qualitative work. That's what scholars like Andy Hargreaves and Michael Fullan do, where they look at deep case studies, the story behind the numbers, or meta-analyses, as Robert Marzano, my friend Brian McNulty have pioneered, really helping us understand from many, many studies what the synthesis is. And finally, a synthesis of meta-analyses, a meta-meta-analysis, if you will. That's what John Hattie has pioneered, where most recently there's 60,000 different studies with 250 million students, all of which we can synthesize to answer the question, what teaching activities most influence student learning? Now here's the key. When you're looking at evidence, don't look at one source, because people will always say, well, you can find an expert to say anything. Look at the preponderance of the evidence. And when you've got quantitative analysts like me, qualitative analysts like Michael Fullan and Andy Hargreaves, meta-analysts like Robert Marzano, and people who synthesize meta-analyses like John Hattie, all saying that teacher efficacy has a profoundly important influence on student achievement. All saying that feedback that is accurate and specific and timely, has a profound influence on student achievement. Then take it to the bank. It's not one expert against another, it's the preponderance of the evidence. Now, here's the footnote to this study. Of course, every study has to have footnotes. Why was evidence-based instruction so important? Dramatically more important than the sort of things that administrators endorse, that colleagues send by word of mouth. Yes, I know that influences a lot of PD, but what the evidence is telling us is that if we don't give teachers evidence-based professional development, then they're simply going to roll their eyes, they'll sit politely, but it's not going to have an impact. They want to see the beef, and I think we have an obligation to deliver it to them. Thanks for listening. Remember, if you need keynotes, workshops, coaching, consultation, come to creativeleadership.net. We'll be happy to help.